I have been wondering when doing my walks, what are you doing when you are listening to this podcast? Personally, I love to listen when I'm out walking. That's when I tend to process and reflect the best, with the movement and also the fresh air. Lately, I have been up on a chair here in this room, creating my new office space, painting the ceiling with a brush in my hand. And during that time, I've been listening a lot on podcasts as well. So apparently, I really need to be on the move to take in things. And that's why it made me smile when I spoke to Sophie the other day. She told me that I have become her new carpool buddy. How cool is that? On her drive to work or home from work, well, I'm right there, part of her journey. That is such an honor to be invited into those everyday spaces. And definitely it's much easier to have a conversation with her sitting in a car than trying to keep up with Beatrice out on her runs or David on his bicycle tours. But I like the movement. Whatever you do, if it's walking, commuting, cooking, or pausing between meetings, I'm really glad you're here. And today, I want us to talk about something more like beautiful, simple, and playful, and curious. It's about that space between dreaming and doing. When you carry an idea, a desire, or a possibility, and you choose to give it shape, not because it's finished or perfect, but because it matters. And as one of my metaphors is, like, just fold a paper airplane and make a test road. I'm Hanna Zaxmy, your leadership coach, and this podcast is your confidence boost in color. Let's go. Sometimes we carry those dreams or ideas that feel so close to who we are. They truly whispers to us. They return time after time because they don't want to be forgotten. They light us up when we think about them, makes us smile and maybe feel a little jittery inside. Like those butterflies in the belly. I quite sense that this matter. And still, they just stuck inside of us. Not there to be told to anyone else. Just circling quietly in the background. Maybe it's something you'd love to create, a shift you want to make, a message you feel you're called to share. And even if the words aren't quite there yet. But instead of doing something with it, it's easy to say, well, I start when I have more time. I'm too tired, let's wait. Once it's more polished, then maybe. And I need more confidence first. Once I figure it all out, well, and in the meantime, well, nothing moves. The idea stays stuck, not because it's wrong, not because it's too big, but because, well, you're convinced that we need some certainty before we can take action. And I know that feeling as well. I have been there too, many times. A couple of years ago, I told myself really clearly, and also actually externally, that it's not the time to start a business right now. I do that when I'm 55. That is a great timing. And before then, I definitely need to have clients, a couple of them, and I also need to figure out the business plan. And there are many details to understand first before I can start. And yeah, it's so much at work right now, so I don't really feel I have the strength to do it. So let's focus there first. Meanwhile, well, time flew away. Not because I didn't care, but because I overcomplicated what it meant to begin. For me, that also meant that I stayed in a place that wasn't healthy, and it started to affect me in ways I didn't want to admit. Eventually, it forced me into an abrupt stop. But that's another story. What matters here is that I too overcomplicate things, and I'm still learning and still practicing how to keep it simpler. But today, I'm 46 and I run my own company. So some improvements are there, definitely visible. And one thing I've learned, clarity rarely comes before the first step. It comes because of it. So just like a paper airplane, it can't fly while it's still a flat paper sheet of a paper. You have to fold it. You have to be willing to try, and you have to let it leave your hands, even if it's thrown wobbly. And if I'm a bit direct here, I hope you're fine with that. Is there something you keep putting off? Not because it's impossible, but because you think you need to be more ready than you already are. What is that? So let me tell you about a client of mine. She had a dream to gather women to speak, to lead, but the fear crept in. Have you felt that too? That tension between the dreams and the doubt? But just like many of us, she kept pushing it forward. Would she have the strength to do it? Was it too big of a risk? Would anyone even come? The dream was there, but it felt fragile. And the doubts, they were loud. Then, during early spring, she enrolled to one of my online coaching programs. And something shifted. There she worked through where she was right now and began making her vision on dreams to make them more tangible, more relatable and more real. Suddenly, it wasn't about if anymore. It became, I'm going to do it now. So one day I received a message from her with a photo. She had mapped it out, a clear plan. And she brought someone else on board so that she didn't need to be all alone. So they did it together. Because of this moment, her decision, it was just now 6 or 8 weeks until the event. And she got super focused, clear on what matters most, and she applied the techniques from the program right away. So what made the difference? By turning her vision into something she could fully embody, something she felt in her really to her bones, like she had already been there before, it suddenly felt less risky. And that shift created extra drive and power. And you know what happened? It worked. It gave her the confidence. It gave her clarity. And just 2 months later, she stood on a real stage, hosting a full event with panels, sponsors, and a powerful energy that felt strong, joyful, and fully hers. Not because she had it all figured out, but because she stopped waiting and started doing. So, what does it actually mean to fold a plane? To me, it's the moment when you stop spinning ideas in your head and give them some shape. It doesn't have to be finished. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to exist in the real world in some way, in a small, small way. That's the first fold. It could be something simple as sending a message to someone you've been thinking about contacting. Or booking a meeting, not because you're ready, but because you want to explore. It can be that you write down your idea, even if it's just a title or heading, and present it for someone. Say it out loud, what you're only dare to think quietly. Maybe you can get someone to support you in that journey. That's what folding the plane looks like. Small, tangible actions that turn visions into movement. They might not look like much from the outside, but inside of you, well, something shifts. You're no longer waiting, you're building, you're in motion. And when you fold the plane, you open up for the possibility of a throw. It may not fly perfectly, it may circle or dip or land or just land a few steps ahead. But now you know something you didn't know before, and that is progress. So once the paper plane is folded, even imperfectly, there's only one thing left to do. You throw it. Not with a guarantee, not with a 5-year strategy, just to see how it flies. So a test throw isn't a full launch. It's not your final version, it's the beginning, with the sole purpose of learning something. That message you send, that first sketch of a program or a pitch, that honest conversation you've been avoiding, doesn't have to be the whole thing. It just has to be enough to move you forward, or nudge you forward. And here's the magic. When you make that test throw, you get feedback, not just from others, but from yourself as well. You feel what excites you. You notice what clicks, you learn where the resistance is and where the energy flows. So test throws is also a help for you to tune into yourself, not just to prove something to others. And no, it doesn't always fly straight. Sometimes it spirals, sometimes it crashes. But every time you learn, and every time you're one fold and one throw closer to something real. I hope by listening to this, you feel inspired to pick up your own paper, to find a little more lightness and a little more playfulness, and to make your own test throw in the direction of your dreams. And today when I'm recording this, it's almost exactly a year since I got the green light to ramp up my company. That was the moment I sat down and folded the business plan I had been working on for quite some time. I put my dreams on the paper and I gave them shape. And now it was the time for the first test throw. And I did that, my first proper throw. And the plane, well, it landed, well, it felt like just a few inches in front of me. I had pulled a lot of energy into that throw, I can tell you that. It was the first launch of my online coaching program with real price tag on, a real invitation and my full heart behind it. And yes, the first plane didn't go far. It pointed downward fast. It flopped, honestly. But here's the thing, nothing was broken. It was just a test. So I picked up the plane, I adjusted it, and then I threw it again. Each time learning, each time getting better, each time getting closer to something that actually flew. And now, a year later, I have folded many new planes. One of them is this podcast. Another is that confident framework. Each one started as an idea on a paper. Each one has found its form through some folding and a first small test. And each one of them has grown through continuous throws with loops, adjustments, and plenty of learnings along the way. And to celebrate my first year in business, I've decided to make the paper airplane my company logo. It reminds me of what matters, that it points forward, that it gets energy from confidence, that it moves through joy, playfulness, and the willingness to try. So no, not everything this year has been joyful. Some moments has been hard, some throws has been messy, but I've had those challenges in every job I ever had. So that's nothing new. What is new is that I now have the paper in my hand and I get to fold it again and again, because every throw, no matter how far it flies, takes me 1 inch or meter or so closer to my vision, to what I want to contribute with, to the life and leadership I'm building, one paper plane at a time. So maybe there is something in you right now, like that quiet idea, persistent thought, something you've been circling but not quite daring to fold. What if this week you just tried Something really, really small. You don't need to leap. You just need to fold the paper. Try a throw and then adjust. That's how we build something real. So maybe that is to write it down or speak it out loud or take one tiny action in the direction of what you long for. Because confidence doesn't come from waiting. It comes from movement. And you gain clarity one action at a time. And if you now decided that you want to take action, if that's something you'd like to support with, I'd love to be in your corner. Whether that's the one-to-one coaching or is on my group programs, just let me know. If you want to start even smaller, download the Clarity Workbook. It's free. There you will get help to uncover what matters to you right now and what you see as your next step. All links of this is in the show notes and also how you can contact me. But this episode has been talking much about clarity and next step. So go back to episode 3 and 11 if you haven't listened to them yet, because there I share more specific tools to get you clear on how to move forward with confidence. And until next time, remember, be confident, be you, and continue to take up that paper and fold the plane and make that test throw. Do that already this week.
Lead with heart, lead with heart. This kind of leadership sets you apart. Bright and brave in every you. Confidence starts inside of you.